Betsy Bird and I filmed a video about her new book, Wild Things, several years ago. We thought it was coming out a lot sooner than it did. It's still very interesting to hear Betsy talk about working with Jules Danielson and the late Peter Cerruta. I hope you enjoy this. Bye. Betsy Bird, welcome to www.spicyreads.org. Thank you for videoing with me.
Thank you for having me.
You are a librarian and a blogger for the New York Public Library and your Fuse 8 blog, but you're also an author. Tell us about things you have written, including a book that is coming out next spring.
Absolutely. Now, I have written 3 books altogether so far. One that I call my boring library book, which was done for ALA editions, called Children's Literature's Gems, Choosing and Using Them in Your Library Career. And then I have a picture book coming out with Green Willow of HarperCollins, and that's going to be happening in the spring of 2013. But my big book is with Candlewick, which is tentatively going to be in the fall of 2013, and the working title at this moment is Wild Things, the True and Untold Story Behind Children's Books. And yeah, so that's pretty much all the crazy goings-on behind your favorite books for kids. Everything from the Newbery winner that allowed a horse to attend ALA with all the librarians, to the fight, or not even the fight, but the worst house guest in the world and how he would not leave Charles Dickens' home, and his name happened to be Hans Christian Andersen, to which famous children's literature characters are stuffed and on display, all sorts of stuff. So, crazy stories. Now, that is a book that you're writing with Jules Danielson and Peter Cerruta. That is correct. And your other books you did by yourself. So you had to work with Jules and Peter. Tell us a little bit about that process, including, as everyone well knows, Peter's recent death. Yes. So I didn't know what this book was going to be initially. Initially, I just wanted to work with Jules and Peter. I have a blog on School Library Journal, as you said, and I am paid to blog on School Library Journal, and it's lovely. But a lot of really good children's bloggers are not paid, including 2 of some of the best. And 2 of my favorites were 7 Impossible Things Before Breakfast. Beautiful. Beautiful, like the top illustration. Tell a little bit about Jules and that. Sure, Jules Danielson runs that blog, and that is a children's illustration blog. It includes things that she just happens to think are fun, but also like beautiful illustrations of classic books. And also illustrations of brand new ones, and she has access that no one else has. It's really amazing. She sure does. It's I love her blog. It's a beautiful blog. Anybody that's interested in picture books really needs to take a look at 7 Impossible Things. It is a requirement. So. It is a requirement to know her blog. On the history side of things, the best history blog was collecting children's books. Peter Cerruta ran that blog for years, and it was crazy behind the scenes. He knew everything, absolutely everything about children's books. It was a lifelong commitment on his part, and he was the one who found out the real first book that Maurice Sendak ever did. Before all the books that we know about, he illustrated a math textbook for his math teacher. Yeah. And he goes into the illustrations of that. He has a signed baseball from a guy who was in Alcatraz. Oh no, it was a signed copy of Al Capone Does My Shoes from a guy who actually was in Alcatraz, saying this lady knows her stuff. I mean, he had everything. I think I learned that Maurice Sendak had illustrations in The Joy of Cooking from him. Exactly. I mean, he knew absolutely everything. So what I wanted to do was to take my 2 favorite top bloggers and write a book with them. And maybe, hopefully, their blogs would be picked up by somebody who would actually pay them for what they were doing. I already had an agent. Jules and Peter were good with it. So we put our heads together, tried to figure out what kind of book we should write, came up with this idea, shopped it to the agent, did a sample chapter, he shopped it around, it was picked up from Candlewick, we wrote the book, and right now it's in its final edits. Very cool. My students that will watch this video think that an editor really does nothing other than correct punctuation and grammar.
But the editor's real job is getting you to explore all angles of a potential project, including many things that you'll write just to see if they'll work that readers never need to see. Tell how it was like working with Liz at Candlewick.
Sure. Liz is my editor at Candlewick.
Oh, Liz Bicknell.
Liz Bicknell. And she's a fantastic editor. Part of the problem with our book was we were a little too enthusiastic, and we had a little too many pages. So I believe that the first time we turned in the book, we had something around 600 pages. So Liz's job was to say, yeah, this isn't going to work, you need to take down the page count. So we did that. We cut down the page count, though to be frank, I think we only got it down to something like 415. But she was editing along the way as well, and her edits and her comments were wonderful. What a great editor does is can almost synthesize what you're trying and failing to say and pinpoint what it is that you could be saying and really shouldn't you be saying that instead.
And more effectively and all
And
that.
more effectively. She has a vision of the book that we agree with, and she helps you get to that final product from wherever you happen to be. Of course, her problem was, of course, that she was editing 3 different people who could potentially have had 3 very different voices, but we don't. As it happens, when we write, I can tell who Jules and Peter are on a particular section, but we actually would trade stories together, and in fact, our voices have sort of melded into a single voice. So she is the one who really kind of takes that single voice and synthesizes it and takes it down. So I'm right now the youth material specialist for New York Public Library, which is to say I buy all the children's books. For all 86 or some branches, we have branches closing and opening all the time, so the exact number is a little difficult. But yeah, my job is to buy everything. So when I see a kid on the subway with a kid's book, I'm like, I bought you that. That's me. And so it's a wonderful job. I started out just as a regular children's librarian in a branch in Greenwich Village. That was my first library job. And then I moved from there to the Central Children's Room, which is now the Children's Center at 42nd Street, which is the biggest children's center in New York Public Library. And then from there, I applied for the youth material specialist job, and I got it, and that's where I am now.
Cool.
Yeah.
You're in New York City.
I am.
With access to all of the big 6 and many other publishers as well.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there are some misconceptions about what that means, as well as some people that really aren't aware of what that really does mean. Talk a little bit about being in the hub of the publishing world and a librarian at New York Public Library.
I mean, there's no doubt that I'm the luckiest son of a gun there ever was, because I really am in, the heart of New York City, the heart of the publishing industry of children's books. There are a lot of children's publishers that are not in New York City: Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, Candlewick, Chronicle, just tons of independent presses as well. But the biggest, and a lot of the independent presses as well, are in New York City. And what that means is, on a certain level, what they've learned actually in the town is a lot of the big publishers actually have these librarian previews for the librarians in the New York area, but also in the surrounding areas as well, who will come in and see what the new seasons are. So I actually do get to go to these previews and see what all the upcoming kids and teen books are for the coming season. So right now we're about to start hearing about the spring 2013 books that are going to be coming out soon, and that is very, very lucky. And wonderful.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, and I can potentially meet with these people, but we don't have that much interaction. They certainly don't have any hand in my purchasing. When I purchase once a month, right now I'm about to purchase everything that's coming out in November, and I rely on reviews. I don't rely on these previews that I'm going to, and they told me, oh, this will be the hot new book. I'm listening to that. I'm paying attention to that. And maybe it will be the hot new book, so I'll take it into consideration, but I'm also going to take the reviews into consideration. I'm going to take, we have patrons can request through our catalog upcoming books, and I see all the, the teens saying, hey, I want to see this book, it's going to come out in November, could you buy it for the system, please? I'm paying attention to what the patrons want. So the publishers have a small hand in what we do, but they don't have a major pull. We're considering all the small guys, all the big guys, all at the same time.
Okay.
That was Betsy Bird telling us a little bit about Wild Things, her new book, which is now out,
as well as a little bit about what she does at the New York Public Library. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed this.